Hi, and Happy New Year from Kazan Academy. This is Morning Coffee, and I'm Deanna. And today I want to talk to you about how I do New Year's resolutions. I'm not the biggest fan of New Year's resolutions. I think that we often have these great ideas at the beginning of the year, but life unfolds and we never know what's going to happen. And so I think a lot of times we just set ourselves up for failure. But what I do like to do is to set a challenge. And this year, I decided that I wanted to read 20 classic novels that I've never read for 2020. And we've posted this on our social media, but we're going to put a link in the description below of our list if you'd like to read along. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is that I've been reading classic novels my whole life. And as a young girl, I read the Little House on the Prairie series and Heidi and these kind of traditional works that you would expect a young girl to read. And then when I got into high school, I fell into British literature. I was reading Chaucer and Shakespeare and Austen and 19th century British lit. And I didn't ever really leave there. I remember in my 20s, I read The Sun Also Rises by Hemingway. That was a bit of a departure for me, but the reason why I read it was because it was set in Paris, and I am an Anglophile, but also a Francophile. And so I wanted to read that. But I didn't really read a lot of American literature. I have a big gap in the novels that I had read in terms of the classic literature. And so I thought I would challenge myself. Now, when I was teaching, I read a lot of things from the Greek and the Roman era. When I was in grad school for my master's in history, I read a lot of things from that era as well, and also from what's called late antiquity, from about 400 to 800. But I still had this gap. So my list is going to be targeting those things that I feel I have a big gap. I did ask some friends for some recommendations as well. And what I came up with were 20 novels, kind of from a whole different spectrum. There's a couple French novels on there that I hadn't read. There's some American novels. There's some more modern novels. So the first novel I'm going to be reading is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. And when I was in college, I worked at a bookstore, and I know a lot of the high school students would come in and be looking for that title because it was required reading, but it wasn't when I was in high school, so I completely missed that one. I'm also going to be reading Anna Karenina and the Brothers Karamazov. I have read Hugo, and I've read Les Miserables and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, but I haven't read outside of that, so I will be reading 93 by Victor Hugo. Another genre that I have not really approached is science fiction. I've just never really been drawn to it. When I was teaching, I taught Ursula Le Guin, but that's pretty much that and one by Orson Scott Card a long time ago. Basically the only two sci-fi novels I've ever read in my life. So I have a couple. I'm going to be reading The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. I'm also going to be reading Edgar Rice Burroughs' The Princess of Mars as well. So I've read excerpts from Goethe, but I've never read a complete novel, so I'll be reading The Sorrows of Young Werther. And in terms of Steinbeck, I've only read Of Mice and Men, so I'm going to be picking up East of Eden. And for Fitzgerald, I'm going to be reading The Beautiful and the Damned, because those two authors are really kind of quintessential American. That's what a lot of people are familiar with, and I haven't read a lot from either one of them, and so I wanted to add them to my list. Now, there are other titles as well, and I will be posting updates in our social media. I will be blogging about my experience, and I'm one of those people that if I don't like a book, I'm comfortable with just setting it down because I'm such an avid reader. I may pick it up another time later. I tend to kind of read what my mood sways me into reading, and so if I'm just not feeling it, I'll put it down. So throughout this year, I may start one and then put it down and start another one, but my goal is to finish every single one, so I'm going to make that happen, even if I have to muddle through some of them, because it is completely outside of what I would normally pick up in terms of a classic novel. So I hope you come along on this journey with me. If you have any tips, or if you have any advice for me, or if you think that there's another novel after you go through the entire list that I need to read, please let me know in the comments below. and I really look forward to this journey and hope that you take it with me. If you're enjoying our videos, please share them with your friends, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We'll put links in the description below. And we have a blog on our website that we will link to, as well as the 20 for 2020 list that you can participate. You can read one or you can read 20. Well, I'm off to get started on Test of the Dubervilles. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.